I went to school to learn. No one ever talked to me about knowledge redundancy, or the fact that information has a use-by date. I imagined a very linear life that would start and grow to become a career, that I would work hard, and the ultimate goal would be at the top of the hierarchical pyramid, which would be demonstrated by my advancing years and seniority. How wrong I was. Over the last few decades, we have seen a significant shift. Technology and digital applications have entirely changed our world. And so we have children who can use an iPhone before they can even speak. And in my world of education, I see thousands of young people who are self-educating, following their passion online, discovering, researching, collaborating, looking for information and becoming deep learners, all outside the institute of a traditional school. Let's take your typical 14-year-old, joined at the hip with their mobile phone, connected to their tribe through social media, and they watch the world play out in real time, action, live play every day. The democratization of information has meant that information is now at the fingertips of every human on this planet with an internet connection. So with so much change going on, it's extraordinary that our schools have not shifted. Education still looks the same. 100 years of technological advancement, and we continue to fight for a traditional education model. We continue to have parents who question the use of digital devices in the classroom, who say, my children are doing homework online, and surely that can't be right, and ask for justification of why things have to shift. And maybe their children are guinea pigs, and what is wrong with the way that school once was. If we think of this group of children, imagine if we took the rules that they go through and applied them in our businesses. You rock up to the office one day. They say, excuse me, I'm going to put you in an age-based grouping. You're in this group. Now you must sit separately, sit at a table by yourself with access to no information. Whereas still you can't ask questions or have an internet connection. I want you to sit down for the next 3 hours with a pen and paper, and by memory only, tell me what you know. Can you imagine what would happen if our workplaces did this? And yet today we still have parents fighting for assessment to look the way it did in our time. The industrial model, which was all about efficiency, about matchy-matchy standardization, and yet none of the world is like this today. And what I find even more astonishing is at the very time when our very best education leaders globally and here in New Zealand, including our government agencies, are fighting for change, for progress, for new assessment systems, for new ways of having education environments, they get pushback at every turn. Here we have a young person full of aspiration, motivation, and hope. And yet they're going into systems that is increasingly failing them. This is Generation Z. They're at the end of the alphabet, but they're part of the largest generational grouping in the history of the world. Give or take a few million, there are now 4 billion young people under the age of 30, half the world's population. And so while we fight for the way things once were, we are part of a growing minority, and as young people come through and want to be part of this new digital world. The change has happened so quickly that actually we need someone to help us navigate through change. This generation are the translators of our time. They live in 2 worlds, the analog world of school and the digital world of the real world. But actually we need to give them a chance to lead, because right now, in increasing numbers, they're coming out of the school system ill-prepared for the world ahead. And what's really extraordinary to me, at a time when we have really low levels of unemployment in this country, youth unemployment is on a rise. Youth underemployment is also on a rise, where you've got children skilled for much higher level jobs, but with the wrong skills, because the skills they have are for legacy jobs. More importantly, we have a huge number of jobs in the market today that are unfilled, highly skilled, relevant, digital and technology based, but our children are not ready and prepared for them. Imagine a few years ago, I stopped and had a coffee with you. And I said, isn't it amazing that we now have companies who are setting up civilizations so that we can shift as humans from Earth to live on the planet Mars? It would have sounded like science fiction, and yet today it is science fact. Or the very idea that just one short plane ride away, we could arrive in either China or India, where 2 billion people now are cashless, using digital payment systems instead of old-fashioned currency. So why are we not asking the questions? If you have 25% of the world today who no longer use currency, what does that mean for jobs in finance, in banking, investment, in assets? And for those who recognize the Bitcoin symbol here, now while it's a very volatile currency, why is it we're not having hard conversations about what it will mean when it's no longer volatile for a trading nation like New Zealand? We don't always know what we don't know. And fundamentally, that is the problem. We don't see the changes that are coming at such an alarming rate. I see the disconnect between those young people who are desperate to play a part in this new world, this new economy, and they'd love to do it from here in Aotearoa. But what is their chance if they don't have the right skills to take them forward in this new world? So what's extraordinary is this is fixable. We're not talking about an issue that's not able to be changed. But what we need is a completely different mindset about what we don't know. We need to all become learners. We need to all become students of 2018 and not rely on the history of information stored in our minds as though it's going to carry us and our children and our grandchildren through their future. I'm not listening. It's all too hard. Technology scares me. I'll just ride it out. I'm nearing retirement. My kids will tell me, we've all heard this or said this. I'm not listening is not a defense against the changing times. The decisions we make as adults affect our children. We are the ones who are the gatekeepers of change. We sit on boards of trustees, we sit on panels and governance roles, we sit in the community, we're on the PTA, we knock on the door of the principal. We are the ones who can lift away from I'm not listening to I'm ears on. How can I be part of this new world? For education transformation to really happen, it's going to take permission. Because right now, we have 90,000 NEETs. And for those who don't know, NEETs is young people not in education, not in training, and not in employment. We are failing our young people. And what we have to get beyond is just because some do extraordinarily well, it doesn't mean all do extraordinarily well. We need a system that's flexible enough to recognize different types of learning. And what I find really fascinating is the skills that employers are asking for today are asking more and more around soft skills. They want communication and collaboration. They want independent thought. They want problem solving, risk taking, resilience, adaptability. These are not skills that come in a rote learning system. And so we have to work hard and with the government agencies who are trying to implement this change. Because right now the pushback is mostly from the community. Change is hard. And I know that from working in education for over 20 years of trying to push change. It is an interconnected system. Everybody is vested in education because we've all been there. We've all had touch points as a student, as a parent, as a grandparent. And so we have an opinion. And so what we need to understand is to truly change, we need to get under the bonnet and decouple a lot of the issues to open the doors of legacy and figure out what is still working and what is not. We need to understand what mind shift we need to get things done, because right now it is completely controlled by unions, government, parents, principals, teachers, the community, and students themselves. To get all those groups on board collectively is going to take an almighty change of thought. But if we try to sit this out, we're in trouble. Because if we sit, we're going to watch ever-increasing young people disillusioned, losing confidence, reduce self-esteem, and a disconnect that is going to make them actually feel like they're not part of the new world. If we sit it out, we're going to watch increasing numbers of Māori and Pacific students statistically not achieving an education, but also, once they leave, in the job stats. If we sit it out, we're going to see generations leave our country because they see there is no hope here. If we sit it out, we're going to actually have more and more need to bring people in to take the jobs where there is no trained talent. People get mobilized for very strange things. Talk to your local principal about the things that people get hot under the collar about. And how often is it for things that are really trivial? Why are we not knocking on the door of the principal about the things that really matter? To have those conversations, to give them permission to make change. As a lone individual, they can't move anything. They're only able to with the force of the community. And communities independent from another community can be bold. They can be the ones who say, I'm going to step up and be the change that we need. Let's not make our children dinosaurs. Let's prepare them for today's world. Let's give them the encouragement to be anything they want to be. What I love about this new generation is they are more motivated than any other generation we've ever seen, more open, more able to be sharing, they have got their tribes, they understand connectivity. You only need to go back quite a while ago now to the Christchurch earthquake. The first group to mobilise was the student army. Look around the world today and who's heading these huge rallies, Me Too campaigns, anti-gun campaigns. It doesn't matter where you look, young people are saying some of the rules of your time are no longer relevant. We're changing it up. But let's give them the tools to truly change it up. I want to send one more message to you in the room who are young. This is a young person's world. Go out and own it.